Hello and welcome to the very first Anthem podcast by Friendlies under six.
What?
That is not the actual name. We'll come up with a better name at a later date, hopefully soon. I am your host, I guess I should say, Andrew,
Hi,
and
I'm
I'm
Logan.
with Logan over there. So this is basically just the intro podcast for what we're gonna be doing, and what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna focus on the upcoming game Anthem. So that'll be included with a weekly podcast on every Monday. So you have that to look forward to, as well as, hopefully weekly videos of just news in general for Anthem, especially as it gets past E3 and we start getting more and more information. But I wanted to start with what we know so far as of mid-May. So we're going to start with that. So Logan, what is your very first thoughts, I guess, when you saw the first gameplay video actually last year at E3? Like, did you?
It looks awesome.
Mhm.
I was thinking it's just, you get to be Iron Man in
Yeah,
the jungle.
that's exactly what I thought. I immediately thought of which one is it? Is it Avengers 2 whenever he has all the different Iron Man suits?
I don't know. I think it's just Iron Man 3.
Okay, it is Iron Man 3, you're right.
Yeah.
So that's what it reminded me of, basically. And the Iron Man suits in this game are called javelins, and who you play is called a freelancer. So we got to get with that lingo.
Yeah.
So they're not Iron Man suits per se, but they're javelins, which is, I guess, a pretty cool term.
And it's
different.
not so much you're going into the jungle, it's everything outside of this little city that you're trapped in, because everything else wants to kill you.
Yeah, and so that's honestly, I think that's pretty cool. Like, I was reading, the actual definition of a freelancer, and it's somebody who straight up abandoned their civilization in search of basically outside exploration. So I think that's honestly cool. Like, as a kid, I love that kind of stuff. Like Indiana Jones is, awesome. So I think I love the idea of exploration, and that we're stepping outside our comfort zone as people, and that's what a freelancer is somebody stepping outside their comfort zone. So I think that's a good start overall. And it kind of reminds me a lot of Destiny. I think everybody thinks that, though, right?
It's almost the exact same situation,
and I think
confined to the city and you're not supposed to leave.
I didn't even think about that. I wonder if your little hub area is going to be like the tower.
The tower, probably, yeah.
Do you think there's going to be multiple cities?
Ooh, I hadn't thought about that. From what it seems like, you're confined into one, but that would be really interesting.
That would be interesting. Instead of your little hub world, you have multiple hubs.
That'd also be cool, because in the trailer, you see, like, whenever you're ready to step out and do a mission, you're always, like, jumping out from that city. So if there's multiple ones, it would make it to where you're not always having to go through the same area.
You know what?
Time.
I'm curious if there's multiple ones, because I did read one of the quotes talking about getting around. So you can fly, obviously, which you could see clearly in the trailer. But if you get tired of it, you can fast travel.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's like Destiny fast travel, where you teleport to the moon, teleport to Mars, teleport to wherever. And you just kind of pop up there, or if it's going to be like, hey, teleport, fast travel to this city, and that's like your starting point. Then you jump off like you did in the gameplay trailer and go from there.
That would be really cool.
But let's not get too much into
speculation.
What we kind of want. But I think we're comparing it to Destiny, and I think it's a good thing to compare it to, because that's basically Activision's massive, not even massive, just multiplayer plus story, and this is EA and BioWare.
It's also, I think, at this point kind of hard not to, especially since they were saying they wanted Anthem to be a 10-year mission.
I think the vice president of EA straight up said, maybe this will be a 10-year thing.
Maybe. Come on, dude.
Straight up, that's an exact quote, said maybe. But I believe Destiny, before it came out, they straight up said this will be 10 years. And that lasted 3 years until Destiny 2 came out, or 3 or 4, or whatever. I think it's 3 years.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to say it's going to be 10 years. That's a long time to hold a player base, but that's not subscription. It's not, RuneScape or World of Warcraft or any of that stuff. That I like that I listed RuneScape first and not, World of Warcraft.
It's one of the best.
But I think it'll be tough to do 10 years without an actual release. So, who knows? Especially now that I think about it, that's going to be a new console generation. So are they just going to...
they would have to port it over again to keep it running like that and keep it up to date.
That'd be very strange. But I think Destiny actually launched on PS3 and PS4 as well as 360 and Xbox
Right.
One. So I guess it's been done, but I still feel that's weird. Like, because this isn't right at the start of a generation. This is going to be mid-generation.
Mid to end. And also, I mean, I guess a 10-year mission could mean a series as well.
That's true.
It doesn't necessarily, it could be main, like Anthem is something bigger than just one game.
True. Like Game of Thrones, multiple seasons.
Exactly.
So my next question is, they originally said a fall 2018 release. They pushed that back to an early 2019, which I've seen people saying March, which is barely early 2019. That's, the end of Q1 2019.
Uh-huh.
So do you think it's a good thing they pushed it back?
I'm totally cool with that, especially after what's happened in the past with all of the games that set a really strict launch time, because then it ends up feeling really shallow at the beginning, and then you're kind of just waiting for whenever it might have come out, if they pushed it back anyway, for it to be a complete game. And I'd rather just get more enjoyment at once rather than kind of commit to it and then feel like I'm not getting everything I expected until a later time.
Yes. So do you think this is a direct response to the reception that Destiny 2 had? And basically it's mile wide, inch deep content where it had a bunch of different things you could do, but there was no meaning behind that content. Do you think they saw that and were like, okay, we need to get in depth with this game or else we're going to fall flat?
Yeah, that would probably be a good inspiration to do that.
Yeah.
Dang, dude, it's making me think of all the stuff they could do, but
yeah, I know, right? We'll get into that in a later episode.
Also, I mean, the rumor is Mass Effect Andromeda was not very good because they were focusing everything towards Anthem to begin with. So I think that paired with them pushing it back is a really good sign that they're
Well, I will say, I can't remember if it was a guy from BioWare or a guy from EA, but I think it was a guy from EA because they like to say stuff like this. But they said, oh, we're pushing it back because we don't want it to compete with Battlefield, which I feel like is a cop-out. I think they just panicked a little bit, and I think they needed to work a little bit longer on the game. Yeah. I think that's just
Plus,
an excuse.
Those aren't really, with what they're going for here with Anthem, this open world thing, it's kind of not the same. It's not comparable.
No, it's not Call of Duty and Battlefield. Those are direct competitors. Yeah. It's not a true shooter. This is a multiplayer RPG that, loot shooter, I feel like, as well, which is what it's going to be. Are you tired of loot shooters yet, or are you ready for another one?
I mean, I think a new one would be cool. I was tired with the weapon system and the loot system they had in Destiny, because basically all it was kill the thing, try to get the weapon you want. And then once you got that weapon, there was nothing else really. It's just like, cool, I got this. Now I don't have much else.
And then everybody used the same weapon, Mida multi-tool.
Exactly. And then outside of just picking it up from a body, you just got your tokens to trade in, and then that's just another random roll.
Don't get me started, dude. That's the lamest system they ever implemented. Was the token system.
But that's why today I got excited when I was looking at their website again, and they're talking about wielding an arsenal of Javan exosuits, blah, blah, blah. And they're saying you can customize your gear, customize them with the gear you earn or the gear that you craft. And so that got me excited because it made me think of the Division crafting system, which is honestly, it's still really good. I like the re-rolling one perk and stuff like that. So I think having some type of crafting is always a good idea.
Yeah, and I think that as a whole, I love loot shooters. Like, I love the chase for the next thing, and I think they need to strike a good balance of Destiny 2 and the Division. Where the Division, it was tough to get the house and those really high tier weapons, but when you got them, you felt amazing, right?
Yeah, and at the same time, it didn't feel like a waste of time if you didn't get that specific thing you're looking at. At least at the beginning, it was really weird. Like, you could only get certain things from certain activities.
Yes.
But in the current state, you can get anything from any activity, which I think is really fun.
So I think we're looking, like, I don't want to get into what we're looking for, but I think they need to strike a balance between the Division and Destiny as a loot shooter. And in the gameplay demonstration, they showed when they defeated that little, it wasn't even a battle. They basically shot a mortar and then Jericho missile
was a genocide.
So yeah, they just slaughtered everybody. But she got, I forget what the gun was, but it was like Jera's Wrath or something like that.
Yes, Jera's
and it was
Wrath.
and it was some legendary gun. So I don't know if that's going to be the actual loot system they end up with. I feel like that was a little lackluster in its delivery.
Yeah, I mean, it was, the whole video is kind of just barren. It was pretty much just show you here's a world we're creating. Have fun, because all you get to see is like one guy use one weapon, one chick find a weapon, and then they're like, "Hey, here's this activity. We'll do it later." So
yeah, they're like, let's wait for Kim to get on. That hell, we won't even talk about the acting in that. It is not representative of gamers at all. It is representative of like a guy in a suit going up there and being like, "Yeah, I'm a gamer, bro."
Well, that thing I was talking about with you the other day, where it's like that trailer, kind of the acting was weird because it seemed like gamers, but also the people in the suits. Because at the beginning, they have that same girl talking to the NPCs and being like, "Whoa, why would you send these guys out there?" And then it transitions.
It was very strange.
Yeah.
Whenever you watched it, I did think that. But it's, and they also, the guy said something about like sweet loot or something like that. And I feel like it was his character saying that and not him. Like just the way he said it, it seemed very like a built-in, you know, when you get loot, your character's a chance of saying this, that kind of thing.
Yeah. But also, there were a lot of cool things that didn't get explored in the video as much. Yes, for example, they're talking about the javelins that you have. So you have the Colossus, which is like your tanky dude. That's the guy who had the big mortar. And then it's the Ranger, right?
The Ranger's the balanced all around.
Cool. And then there's that third suit. I'm looking at the picture of it right now. That looks really different from the other ones, because the other guys have like jetpacks, they have the rockets.
Whereas and she has, I assume it kind of looks like a she. It seems like an assassin style character.
Yeah, I mean, you got like the claws, and then also like if you look at her legs, it's just kind of like lightning-y, pixely. I don't even know. So it looks like maybe more of an anti-gravity thing instead of.
Now that I'm looking at it more, look at her hands. There's a little bit of heat waves coming off that, like Iron Man.
Yeah.
I think that's Iron Man style, which that kind of style will give an assassin style character much more mobility in the air, and I feel like much more tight turns and stuff like that.
If you have like she's holding that like upward pose, whereas you watch the other people fly, like if they're going forward, they're kind of like laying flat. But
it's like they're like jets.
Yeah, basically. Whenever you're watching this girl fly, she's standing or like still upright and just kind of thrusting forward somehow.
Interesting. So hopefully, you know, that actually does lend to a certain gameplay mechanic and makes them feel different. Because the more they feel different, I think the better. I don't want to see the same.
Exactly.
You know? I don't want all the gameplay styles to be so similar.
For sure.
Let's see what else. So what do you think about, you know, BioWare's history as Mass Effect, Dragon Age, the Star Wars Old Republic games? Do you think that background is going to change and mold this into a more story-based kind of thing and more RPG style? Or do you think they're going to go for full, you know, Destiny 2 has Destiny has a lot of lore, but they went full, you know, into multiplayer, PvP, everything. And I feel like dialed back on the story a little bit more, which is why everybody wanted that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to lend a lot to the game. I know today they were saying stuff about that where like they still want to deliver a BioWare story and make sure.
Yeah, they said, we think it creates a unique experience where you have control of your own story, but your story is set in an ever-changing multiplayer world.
And I guess like that's what a lot of people are concerned about in a way, because they're saying, you know, we want to create worlds of adventure, conflict, companionship that inspire you to become the hero of your own story. And so that's what kind of confuses people, because they are pushing this to be multiplayer, play with your friends kind of thing. And so if it's a coexistent world, how can the choices that you're making in the game really affect it to like any sort of meaningful degree?
And again, we're beating a dead horse here, but I think that same thing was felt in Destiny 2. They tried to do that and be like, hey, you know, you're at the farm, this is your home base. And then everybody immediately beat it, you know, in 7 hours, and everybody's back at the tower. So that was like a baby stopgap where, you know, like, oh my God, the tower got destroyed. And so I'm here for 5 hours. Now I'm back at the tower. So like, Yeah, so it didn't really affect it long term. It was more of a very, very short term thing. And I think in a truly multiplayer game, it's almost impossible to have those little intricacies where it only affects this
Right.
individual.
Well, that's also a
And
thing
I do think,
where maybe like having different towns could lend to them still having decision making where like, okay, like maybe they'll end up in this section versus this. Or maybe it could also lend to some sort of social system where people are like aligning with different routes they want to take with the game.
that'd be cool. Yeah. And they may end up going the way of the division where it's instances. So if I join your game, I see what your
Mm-hmm.
world's like, which I think is the best way I've seen
Right.
it done, because that way we see the same thing, but it's also like I know
Right.
it's your world and I'm living in your world, so it makes sense to the gamer and it's not jarring in
For
any
sure.
sense. But I mean, they I think they were talking about they want to do a best of both worlds, but I don't know if there is a best of
Kind
both
of one or
worlds in
the
this
other.
sense. At least, yeah, at least not yet. Not until we're in augmented reality and we're all living it ourselves.
Yeah, because I mean, their response to these concerns was pretty much like, oh, I think that's only a concern because it hasn't been successfully done before, but we're working on it. And it's like, what does that mean?
Yeah,
Which I guess
there's no promise
at
there.
this point, I'm satisfied with those kind of answers for now because I know they just kind of want to get it all at once at EA Play and E3.
Hmm.
I think after that, though, um, I might need more specific answers.
Yeah, we want answers. Slam our
Yeah,
fist down.
harumph.
Harumph, harumph, harumph. So the next thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, which I'm kind of sad about, because we both play on the PlayStation
Mm-hmm.
4 Pro, so we're cool. Um, but this looks to be the polar opposite of Destiny, which Destiny had the PS4 exclusive stuff, and this looks to be favoring
Oh no,
Xbox. At the reveal last year, they ran on Xbox One X's, which weren't even
for
out yet,
sure.
and it was uh, Microsoft was very heavily involved, so it already looks to be leading that way. So that's a little unfortunate,
That
but
hurts my feelings.
yeah, I wish Destiny would have been better, so we could have,
Just done that.
But alas, yeah, but alas, this little, I'm still excited for this
I
nonetheless.
mean, also, if
And
we're talking about Destiny PS4 exclusives, they were pretty much useless. It's like a specific strike, and the strikes aren't worth doing anyway.
yeah, yeah, the strikes were like fun the first time, and like in the beta they were fun, but
Yeah.
after that, there's no reason to do them. So hopefully they don't get too crazy with the exclusive content, but money talks. So, and this is EA, which is worse than Activision, which is crazy. Which is crazy. Um, so this is running on what is EA's go-to engine at this point, Frostbite for everything. So this is obviously looks gorgeous. Hopefully physics are still up to par with everything that we've seen.
I also don't.
Do you
I
think
don't know
destructive?
much about flying
Go ahead.
physics, so there is that.
Yeah,
They can do whatever they want.
I hope it. Yeah, I hope it feels good. I really hope there's some
Right.
weight to it and some actual. That'll be like within the actual controller feedback though. So, but do you think that there'll be any destruction in this game? That's kind of my.
Maybe not
Like,
any sort of permanent destruction, but like, I mean, yeah,
okay.
it would be interesting to see maybe like, oh, these people are hanging out under this big rock structure, and like you could possibly blow that down. I think that could be something cool.
That was just something I thought about because that seems to be a big thing in Battlefields. Everybody wants that
Yeah,
destruction. Gotta get that levolution,
yeah.
man.
My concern, I guess, would be that it would be a bit too scripted of destruction, which is just,
So just
yeah.
leave it
If
out.
it's going to be like that, I feel like I don't even need it.
Yeah, and I'm now that I'm thinking about it even more, I don't think destruction would be good. Especially in the environment that we saw, which was all jungle. Like I don't know if it would really lend to it.
Sure.
So, and that just taxes the graphics a little more. And we don't want to drop frames, right? This is a little thing I picked up when I was watching the gameplay. They talked about whenever they saw the beast towards the beginning when they were flying around, like the big creature that was like messing up
Right.
some smaller creatures. You know what I'm talking about? They said it wasn't worth fighting them because of their supplies. So that made me think: is there going to be some sort of ammunition? Is there going to be some sort of I have this amount of of mortar shots. I have this amount of
Huh.
missile shots. And do you think that'll come into play like down the line? It didn't seem like an ability cooldown thing,
Yeah,
right? It seemed like they're like, oh no, we don't want to blow our
for
load
sure.
here because there's a bigger fight coming up. So that's kind of more strategy
Maybe. So you're
than
thinking like it's something where you load up at your tower and go out there. Yeah,
yes. And
that would be
then
awesome.
you can't just live out there for 10,000 years and pick up ammo as you go. It's more of like a go back, restock, put away whatever you got. I got this new weapon, put it in the
Hmm.
locker or whatever, and then hop back out. Like
I did see
I'm
something.
sure.
I don't remember what my source is, so we'll have to check this. But like, because
Uh
people were
huh.
asking basically about, oh, is it going to be a thing where there's like a soft permadeath, or like, you get sent back a while for dying, and they said they didn't really want to
Hmm.
punish players in that regard. Um, so I'm wondering if maybe like that sort of ammunition kind of thing, and you have to report back to base, might fall into that category of being like a bit too punishing, for players to consider it like
Like,
fun, which I disagree with. I mean, I think that sounds like a really nice system.
yeah, I think it would add strategy. I think it's in the this is a kind of a strange comparison, but like in a Dungeons and
Hmm.
Dragons sense of where I've taken damage in this previous, or I use my my arrows in this
And you
previous
won't have them for
fight.
the next
I'm
one.
I'm down
Gotcha.
spells. Yeah, it's like I don't know if that would add strategy
Yeah,
to it,
I
and
really
I'm
like
sure a lot of
that
people
risk versus
it's about it.
reward consideration.
Yeah, I like that as well. And it's like a battle of attrition in a really long fight, which I think is when the best moments come out when your back's against the wall and you're like, man, I got one mortar shot left. Like I got to make this count. And you clutch it out. Like those
For
moments are
sure.
amazing. So it is a risky thing though, because a lot of people will be, I want to have fun. I want to have fun now. I don't want to waste time going back
Hmm.
to the thing. And maybe that system's seamless. You fly back to the base real quick and fly back out, and it's
Yeah,
quick.
that's where the
And
fast
I
travel
think
would
that
really come in
as long
handy.
as yeah, as long as it's quick. Maybe you could set up like a quick base camp and be like, head back real quick, and then you can teleport back to your base camp or something. I'm
Hmm.
not sure, but I did think it was interesting. They specifically said that like, oh, we don't want to waste our supplies here. I don't know if that was just a throwaway line that they
Uh
just
huh.
threw in, or if that's actually part of the
Yeah, because it
gameplay.
could also just be like we are under leveled. We don't want to go there right now.
That's true. Very true. And that also, we may briefly mention this, but they didn't want to go to there was like a ruin they could explore. I know we talked about like Kim's
Yep,
not
who
here.
needs the XP?
So that that immediately reminded me of Lost Sectors, which I hope they're not that small.
Yeah.
I hope it's more of like a dungeon. Uh, so hopefully it's something like fully explorable and actually worthwhile going into. And I want to feel that sense of wonder. I want to Indiana Jones, and I
Mm.
want to maybe there's traps, maybe there's puzzles. Like I hope there's stuff like that instead of just walking in and killing enemies.
Yeah, I'm curious just because of the setup of the game, and we haven't seen much. I wonder if there is going to be any sort of puzzle kind of thing, and how that would work compared to like previous games like this.
I feel like there should be some sort of puzzles. I mean, you can fly, so you can solve pretty much
Right.
any puzzle you want. But I do think it'd be cool if they also put you in different situations. Like, let's say you walk in and a trap, like a boulder trap, falls in you and disables your ability to fly, and you have to figure out a way to get out of
Hmm.
there. I think putting you in different situations would be kind of cool. But that's me just making stuff up, which is not the point of this episode. Um, so my one last question for you, which I think is a question a lot of people had, is that I think it's called a shaper storm, or the
What
storm at
is
the
that,
very
dude?
end of the that dude. That's what I wrote down. I said, "What is it?" That's what I'm
I don't
asking you.
know.
Uh,
Because
so
it seems
I'm
like
thinking.
a
Go ahead.
timed event. Like they pop up kind of like maybe a public event in Destiny, because they're
Oh.
kind of like whoa, like what's happening with the weather, and like right then they have to invite their friends
Oh.
to drop in. Um, but I mean,
That makes sense. I
very
didn't even think
concerned
about
about
that.
it. Yeah, I don't think the Shaper Storm is going to end up being something that you just like. It's there all the time and you wonder upon
Go.
it.
Yeah.
It seems more of just like a weather kind of deal where like, hey, like this is going to happen in this area, and like everyone goes there at once and can try to group up and stuff like that. Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool. Timed events are always pretty cool. So my next question was, what sort of gameplay mechanic do you think it'll bring? So for some reason I was going the way of like you jump into it and it like brings you somewhere else, almost like a I don't know, like a time gate or a teleportation
that
gate
seems
or something.
like what they had to do. That's the last thing they said. It's like, so we jump into it, yep, and they're gone.
And it didn't really follow them. Like the camera just was like, hey, everybody jump. And then there was kind of like the end of that little section. So I don't know if that's, you're going to load into a new area or like what that means. Because like, well, what's in there? Like what all that was happening was trees and beasts were getting thrown around and it was, a storm. So
I'd imagine you're probably right, where it takes you to a different place like that you normally wouldn't be able to get to.
Maybe like the eye of the storm or something like that, to where it's not unplayable. Like it seemed pretty unplayable whenever they were going towards it because the wind was too crazy strong and all the like there were even beasts that were flying by them, so they can't really fight any enemies. So maybe like the eye of the storm is a certain maybe it's a creature making the storm. Like we have no clue.
I can't wait to find out.
Me neither. And with that note, that concludes our first ever Anthem podcast, which is pending its name. But I'm excited. So everyone be on the lookout every Monday for an Anthem podcast to be named. And we'll see you next week. This is Friendlies on your 6 signing off.